Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for being here. Made it to week 6. Kudos to everybody who was here for the whole 6 weeks. If not, I do have all of the videos uploaded on YouTube so far, apart from week 1, but I'll do that over this weekend. And then after today, I'll put this video up too. So by this weekend, we'll have all of the videos up, so you could go back and listen to it, whenever you want to. I mean, everybody is muted now, but I am going to allow people to unmute for this session because I want this one to be a little more where I get your input too, so that we could kind of work out what might help kids as they become a little bit older. Yeah, I agree. The videos, you could always, is public, so you could go back and look at it whenever you want to. If there was something that you feel like you want to remember to use with your child, it's there forever and ever to look at. All right, so all videos off, everything is good. What we are going to talk about today, like I said, was aging with, special needs, or not aging, but just as kids get older, it is something that we have to think about with, kids with special needs will grow into adults with special needs. And most of the times when we talk about special needs in any context, really, it's usually children that we talk about. But over the last few years, I found that I have been working a lot more with maybe older kids, and I have seen some teenagers. Even one was about 17, 18, and going into Form 6 kind of thing. So it is something to start to think about with what you want for your child as you go ahead. So today's session is going to be a little bit different. It will still start the same format. I'll do my highlights in a little bit. But the guest for today is not going to have another person being the guest, because I'm going to be the guest today and will share my experiences as an autistic adult to kind of show some of the things that work for me in navigating life and some of the things that have helped along the way, and see how we could put that all together and see if it could work for your child, and then get some of your ideas too, so that we could all have a nice idea of how we could help our children as they get older. All right, so my highlight for this week, I just want to shout out you parents. That's my highlight, because for the last few months, maybe 3-4 months, however long we've been on lockdown, it's been very encouraging now that we start back into clinic to see so many children coming in and see all the gains they've had over the last few months with having the parents as the therapists, and well, parents having to be everything. It has been wonderful to see children come, and even having to discharge children because they have done so much at home with parents really working with them and giving them everything. And in talking to one parent in particular who's on this chat now, I really just want to give her a very special kudos, because we have had sessions for the last few months, and just this week we were talking about how far her son has come in the last 3 months or whatever in so many different areas. And I know that although some of it is, yes, being home and you're in a comfortable environment and everything, I know a lot of it comes down to her and the work that she puts into making sure that her child has everything possible. And she does everything to give him all the best advantages that he could get. And I know that all of you parents have that same mindset too, where, this is what my child needs, and I'm going to do anything I have to. And even the simple fact of being here every week, or even watching the videos, if you're not able to tune in, it shows that you're willing to try things and you're willing to take on board different pieces of advice and do everything you can. And to be able to see that, and we see the children who we see how much they benefit from having involved parents who will do all that. So I just wanted to shout out all the parents today. You all are doing fantastic. I think being a parent, especially right now, is extremely hard because, like I said before, you have to be everything. You have to be parent, teacher, everything in one, while still having to manage your own jobs and your own things going on outside of everybody else. So good job to all of you. All right. So like I said, I'll touch on all of the different topics that we did before, but just kind of use my own experiences to tie it together and go through some new things. Because I know some of the topics that we had, there were things I wanted to say, but I didn't want to say it because, you know, there wasn't any time to talk about that. All right, so the backstory is that I realized about 2 years ago, maybe, that after going through many different things and wondering why I was always so weird, it ended up being that I realized that I'm autistic based on many different behaviors and all different things, and ruling out sensory issues as a diagnosis and all of that. So I've never been officially diagnosed by a doctor or pediatrician or anybody, but I know because it fits with everything that happens to me. So in a lot of ways, I understand what a lot of kids go through because I either go through the same thing or I'm able to understand it from their perspective. And for a lot of parents, I wanted to do today in particular because I had a parent I was talking to a few months ago, and she was kind of telling me that she was so worried about her child and what is going to happen when he gets older, and just, you know, how he's going to be when he gets older. And that's kind of the only reason why I tell parents that I'm autistic anyway, is just kind of to let them know that your child having autism or any special need, it doesn't necessarily automatically mean that's the end of things right there. You know, with resources and support, you could get them to a space where they are able to do things and be in society. To answer your question, Michelle, if there are any resources for an adult to be diagnosed, not that I know of, because it's something that I had wondered myself too. But I do think that doctors, that the same pediatricians would be your best bet. But I think the problem for adults, and well, the main problem for a lot of adults is that if you get to the stage where you're an adult and you're still not too sure, then it means that you are high functioning. And a lot of the times, a lot of people, especially females who are high functioning autistic females, tend to be able to fit in very well. So it's either a thing where it's not, it's kind of harder to diagnose, I guess, when you're an adult because you don't have a lot of those obvious behaviors and those obvious things that you might see with children. Like instead of stimming behaviors that you might see with very small children, in adults, it might not look like that. The stim would be something different. So all my stims are, for the most part, appropriate, but it still exists. And I think that's why adults is kind of hard. A lot of parents, though, in talking to a lot of parents who bring their children to me, a lot of them have realized that they too might be on the spectrum, and a lot of their realizations come too from the same thing with going through either seeing their child and realizing on the same way, but maybe a little bit toned down, or it might be from reading through books and doing research. That's when they kind of realize, oh, this is how I am too, so I must be on the spectrum. And I think outside of Trinidad, too, a lot of adults tend to realize they're autistic based on just doing a whole bunch of research rather than getting formally diagnosed. Actually, I think I did ask, and one of the psychologists told me that the psychologist might be able to help to diagnose. But then there is a question of, as an adult, um, if there is a benefit to having that diagnosis. Because as we spoke, when we spoke with diagnoses and things with Alicia a few weeks ago, it became, well, for children, you might need to have that diagnosis for things like school and getting extra resources for school. But outside of that, is there a need to have the label or not? And I think it's up to the person to know, well, I want to go and pay this amount of money to get this diagnosis, but then if it might help or not. I will say though that figuring it out for me helped in, it was one of the best things to finally realize it, because it meant it was the answer to so many different things, and it allowed me to be able to figure out, okay, this is what happens when, and to kind of figure out, this is when things getting kind of weird, and if I don't remove myself, I know a meltdown is going to come later on. So it has helped with things like that and being able to manage day-to-day life. Otherwise, I just, wouldn't have known what was happening and know what to do about it. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up with, as children get older, the first week we were talking about play, and we were talking about, independent play and structured play and unstructured play. And the same way that children need to have this ability to play and they need to have this time to play and everything, adults also need to have play, but we just call it leisure. So we need to have that time to be able to relax and also develop. You still need to keep developing your muscles and your mind throughout your life. So for adults and for adults with special needs, the play skills become leisure skills. And it's important to make sure that as your child gets older, they still have the opportunities to have these leisure skills. The problem is that for here, in terms of sports, there aren't always a lot of teams or team sports or groups that you might find with different people with special needs, but there are some. A lot of children too, as they get older, either because of physical issues, sensory issues, social issues, they might shy away from doing things like team sports or doing things like structured sports or structured activities like that. So we might find that a lot of older kids with special needs might gravitate towards computers, and they might do more things like Fortnite and Minecraft and all of the other games, because that's a way for them to get their leisure time. But the physical, you still need to have that physical input. So as your kids go along, and you still want to make sure that they do have some physical activity. Now, certain sports like running, and of course triathlon, because I'm a triathlete, those are sports that tend to work well for people with special needs, because, well, running in particular for children with autism or sports that involve running, it's very structured. It's something that doesn't need a lot of equipment to handle. And it's also, the structure of it makes it good, because you have a clear start, you have a finish, you know what distance is taking place, and if you use things like watches, you are able to use that to help you along. So certain sports like that can play very well to the strengths of autistic people, because they are able to channel that need for structure, they need the kind of behaviors where they need to have things just like that. They're able to channel that in a way where they can use their physical ability to do something. The person who just messaged there, okay, I'll get to that one just now. The question really is for his or her daughter who is severely disabled, cannot walk, eat, hear, or speak, sports cannot help, like running, what do I use? Swimming. So for that, again, you can't go back to a lot of these sensory things. Swimming is a very good activity for people who have physical issues or sensory issues, because when you go into the water, you're weightless. So once you go into the water, you are able to move your muscles in a way that you wouldn't be able to on land, because you don't have the force of gravity. Yeah, it is. You don't have the force of gravity playing against you when you're in the water. And I know I'm seeing more and more, there are a lot of swimming groups popping up with instructors who have experience with people with special needs and who are certified to help people with special needs. And I've seen different things. There's aquatherapy and there's also actual swimming instruction. So those are avenues that you can look at. I do know also one of the parents who said her daughter is in swimming and has been, over the last few years, has been doing very, very well with her swimming. Even things like not wanting to get her face wet or not wanting to go very far in the pool, and now she's able to do much more than she was before. So swimming and structured sports and individual sports too could be avenues that you could look at for, yes, could be avenues that you could look at for sporting activities. Yes, swimming groups that accommodate, there are a few. I know that there's one other OT, Christopher. He does aquatherapy. So if you kind of want more on the therapy side of things rather than the swimming side of things, he's your go-to. Also swimming that will accommodate autistic kids. Kathy Ann, I am not sure I'm not sure what her schedule is, but I could find out because the person I was just talking about goes to her. Mary Dorothy Simone, she MDS school, she works with children with special needs. She's fantastic. And there's another one in South called Aquatica Swim School, and their instructor is also certified to work with people with special needs. So there are people around, and I saw one recently, I think the other day, but I can't remember who it is. So there are different groups and people around. In terms with sports, Focus Academy, they do different types of sports. They do football, but I think they also do different types of sports, and they cater specifically to children and young adults and adults with special needs. I'll remember all these people to kind of put a link to their pages and their info, but they all work with children and adults with special needs. So there are opportunities for sports for even as your kids get older. And if it is that your kids want to stay home and do exercise, then oh gosh, there's endless YouTube videos that you could look at for doing exercise. But it is important to make sure that you keep that level of leisure there and not have it all the time. You still want to have some work in, which we'll get to in a little bit, but you want to make sure too that there's some level of physical activity there to help as you go forward. All right. In week 2, we spoke about getting the diagnosis, and it's what someone was saying before with getting the diagnosis as an adult, or as you go ahead. It depends on kind of if you want to or if not. But the main thing for your child going into an adult is support, and that's one of the things that really made it easy for me to never know that anything was not wrong, because I was always weird, but it made it easy for me to be able to continue through life kind of in a bubble and not having too hard a time, is because I had support and I had family and a huge family and some friends who were able to allow me to interact and be my real little self. So support and continuing to support your child in everything will go all the way, and not just your support as a parent, but a lot of times families have to be on board too, not just with knowing that your child has a diagnosis, but in knowing how to really help your child. And grandparents are great, but one of the things that happens is that a lot of times for children, it ends up being that grandparents, especially, but parents who might want to help and be like, oh, come, let me dress you, let me feed you, let me bathe you, let me do everything. But to have a successful adult, you need to help your child become more independent by helping them to help themselves. So from the time your child is small, you really want to have them trying different things, trying to put on a shoe for themselves, trying to feed themselves, trying to put the socks on, even if they looking like they might be struggling with it. You could let them try it, let them see you do it first so that they know what's supposed to happen. And then you could model whatever it is you do and show them this is how you put buttons in, and then allow them the opportunity to try. I mean, if they're really struggling and it's really becoming problematic, you don't want to be like, no, you have to try it and do it yourself. But give them the opportunity to try and give them the opportunity to be independent. I don't know how you're going to get that across the grandparents, but you know. Yes, support in the form of acceptance. Exactly that. I think that that was the biggest thing. It was really the biggest thing that helped me. And actually, one of the reasons, one of the first things that made me really know that I was different was in 2014. I went to St. Lucia to work with a clinic over there. And that was the first time I didn't know anybody there I was going to. I just sent out the thing saying, yeah, I could come, and went. And having to be in a situation where nobody knew me and I was definitely very different. That was the first time I realized, okay, something is going on. Because up until then, my family and everybody had accepted me as me. So, there was no reason for me to think otherwise that something was going on. So as much as possible, the whole family has to be on board with not just knowing, but be really accepting your child and not accepting them for accepting them in the sense that you will support them to be whatever. And it's not just, no, you need to do things like this. You really need to accept them as their own individual and help them grow that. So as your child starts to get older, you might see they like certain things, because from way back when I always learned a child is a child first. So you always seeing a child first. And I mean, children, even with special needs, you could see the attitude, you could see the personality, you could see everything about that child outside of the special needs. So you do want to get to understand your child for who that person is, and figure out what type of, and help them become whatever type of adult they want to become. There are some children who like to do things on the computer, and maybe that could end up being a career field for them. I think as everybody has learned for the last few months, a lot of stuff could be done online, and there are so many ways now that you could make money by doing things just online and doing things where you don't have to be out and you don't have to do things traditionally. So especially now, there are a lot of ways to figure out different avenues that your child might be able to gravitate towards to do something gainful as they get older. That isn't just the root of what we typically do here, where we have our adults with special needs doing crafts and making furniture and things. Not that that's a bad thing, but we also want to look at different avenues and make sure that your child is getting to do what they want to do, not just what is available. One of the things too that I found worked for me was thinking of things outside of a regular 8 to 4 or 9 to 5 kind of sitting down job is fine enough. It's just playing to their strengths. So for me, I know I can't handle an 8 to 4 office job or even 8 to 4 time. That does not work for me. So some people might be able to do later in the day, which is what I do, to start later in the day and to finish later, or maybe even part-time, or have your days broken up where it doesn't follow the tradition. So what you can do as your child starts to get older is start to think about what kind of jobs might fit their personality and might fit their abilities and their skills, because they want to play to their strengths. Since I was small, I have seen many people with special needs working in Maxi stores doing different things. And I didn't realize it until some time ago, when I was like, oh yeah, this Maxi always has somebody with special needs working. So there are a lot of jobs that you can do. I know one of my jobs I had in university was working at Body Shop. And even though it was a customer service and I really didn't want to deal with that, or I didn't think that I would have these skills needed to work in customer service, one of the things I really loved about that job was at the end of the day when we had to clean and line up all the bottles and line up all the different products, because it played to my strengths. They had to be a certain way, and I mean, that was perfect. It was just going, making sure you have your three of everything straight and wonderful. So having a job like that, where maybe if they are in a store but not, cashing, they could be doing something on the shelves. That's something that is good for them, is employment, but it's also playing to things that they will be able to do easily. So you could look at different jobs. I know another parent who, I can't remember if I said this here or somewhere else, but another parent I know too, her child is very much into computers. I did say it here. And he started to learn about Photoshop and all those Adobe Photo Studio and those kind of things. And that could be an avenue for him to make money as he gets older. And he could do that from the comfort of his own home. So there are many things that you could start to look at in terms of looking at jobs for your child. Okay. One of the things and learning to code. If it's anything math related, I can't speak to anything on coding, but yes, coding, and apparently coding is the future of computers and learning. So it's something that if you could get your child into that from now, you could play to those strengths. Oh, one of the things, before I forget, going back to the sports, was in keeping there with the person who was asking about his daughter who had severe special needs. One of the things that you can think about too, maybe not for so severe, but maybe with physical disabilities or other cognitive disabilities, Special Olympics too, they tend to do a good bit. And we have our Special Olympics down here. And I know that the Paralympics branch of our Olympic committee, that's something that they want to, have more athletes do Paralympic sports. So it is an avenue too that you could look into, and it doesn't just have to be your child is doing sports to try and do sports that everybody else does. They could do sports to work towards doing Paralympics too. Yes, autistic children are very tech savvy. I have many children who teach me things all the time on the iPad or computer, or whatever it is. I've learned a lot from them. Okay. Now, one of the things that I really wanted to talk about is communication. Going back to some of the things that Nadia was talking about, and working with now for people with any kind of special needs, communication might be difficult for a lot of us. And one of the things that makes it harder is when people expect you to communicate in only one way. Now, one of the things, especially now that I'm experiencing, and I'm sure other people have this issue too, that I was explaining this week, now that everybody is wearing masks, I can't hear people because I know I have a lot of auditory issues and just tune into the wrong sounds that I'm supposed to be tuning into. But when I wear a mask, I have to take my glasses off so it doesn't fog up. So with glasses off and faces covered, I can't hear properly at all. So as just a short example, today I went into Superfarm to get something and the lady said something to me, but she was facing away, but I just heard something. So I just stood up staring at her because I didn't know what to do. And she was like, start to take your things out. I was like, okay, fine. So for communication, one of the things that really helps children and will help adults as they go along is one, to allow opportunities for different means of communication. So as we were saying, the same thing that Nadia was saying, if speech is too difficult, text can help. So especially if it's something that you want to talk about that might be a little bit emotional or something that might be a little bit difficult to put thoughts into words, it can be an opportunity if you have an older child, like a teenager who's going through a lot and you find he or she is not able to tell you how they're feeling and might be a little bit aggressive, or you might be seeing a lot more tantrums or meltdowns. It could be something where you could allow them the opportunity to text you and say, well, when you're ready to talk, you can send me a text or send me an email. Because that definitely helps. It allows the person to have time to put their thoughts together, but also allows them to put their thoughts together in an easier way for them so they could really say what they want to say. So one of the things, if you could not push talking as much, especially when it's hard for them, and allow for different types of communication, great. That would help a lot of people. Eye contact too. I know here eye contact is needed when you talk to people, but it's said many, many times before, and it's true, eye contact is very, very difficult for an autistic person. I hate to look people in their eyes because two things. One, you lose focus because if I'm looking at somebody in their face, I'm focusing on all sorts of things going on rather than what they're trying to see. And the other thing is that it's physically uncomfortable to look at somebody in their eyes. Like you look at somebody in their eyes and you feel it in your stomach and it just feels weird and it feels uncomfortable. So for a lot of children, I know the idea is that you want to see that they're listening to you, but a lot of children listen better when they are not making eye contact. So just keep in mind that eye contact isn't easy for everybody, but one of the ways that you could make sure that they are listening to you and are understanding is ask in a different way to know, well, did you understand what I said? So you can say, well, if it's something like you ask them to do something, you could ask them what it is you have to do again, so that you know that they understood what you're trying to say, but without forcing that eye contact. And the other thing with communication is for the ones who are verbal, to give time to allow the person to answer. Because a lot of times if you ask a question, it takes time for that question to go in your head and to process all of that. and then to try and think of what you want to say and then say it. So in that time when all of that is happening, I know you're waiting for an answer, but I can't give you that answer yet because everything's still happening, even though I know that you just said something. So if you're asking me 5 times in a short space of time, and I'm still trying to process what you said the first time, it makes it harder because I have to stop that process to listen to what you're saying again. So a lot of times, and this goes for anybody, not just autistic people, but for any child with special needs, it's worth asking it in a way that they will understand, but given a little window of time just to make sure that just to give them time to process. And then if it is that you feel you're not sure if they heard, or you feel like, okay, maybe things might have got lost in translation somewhere, then you could ask again. But give that time first. Right. Don't think there was anything else for communication. Hugs and stuff. I don't know if hugs come under communication so much, but I'll talk about it anyway. I know one of the things our culture just loves to hug and kiss and, oh, come, long time no see, hug and kiss and thing. And honestly, one of the best things about COVID is that you don't have to hug people or kiss people every time you see them now. Now it's like, oh, yes, I could just see people and just say hi and move on with things. And I know that a lot of kids feel like that. And as they get from children to become adults, it is important to respect what that person wants. Even as a child, it's okay for them if they're not into hugs. And the misleading thing might be that there are some kids who have sensory kids who love hugs, but they love to give hugs, not get hugs. So for some children, they might need to, you do have to respect that even though they might be hugging you real tight, it doesn't necessarily mean that they love to get hugs from everybody. They might love hugs from you because you are parent, mommy or daddy, or they might love hugs from certain people, but not from everybody. So it is important to, especially with family members, if you recognize that your child is maybe doesn't like hugs or maybe tries to shy away from hugs, it is something that you could let your family members know that your child is kind of, you could do all the little COVID things like your elbow bump and whatever else now. And it is something as they get older to respect their feelings about those things, about personal touch and hug and greeting people and all of that. It is important. Okay. Behaviors. This is, let me see this one. Oh, the one person is saying here that hugging was a huge progression. He hated it. And a few years ago, he realized it was a way to show appreciation and love. So he was a bit traumatized in COVID regulations. Oh, that was kind of sad because after he now kind of get into it now, it's like, okay, no more hugs anyway. But I mean, all my smaller children now, when they come to sessions, they still come and hug and all of that. And I mean, oh God, I'm not gonna push them off and say don't hug me. But it is, yeah, so he understands why I can't hug. I mean, the little ones, that's just what they do. Okay, so last week we spoke to Kevin about behaviors, and behaviors do continue into adulthood. I think one of the important things to remember is that, trying to figure out how to put this nicely. A lot of parents do ask, will he or she be like this forever? With, you know, however the child is presented now. And I always say that, number one, you don't know because things can change as you get older. but sometimes things change in a way where you make it more appropriate. So for a child who has sensory issues and maybe like system, that might always be there. Or a child who is very active might always be very active. But the ways in which you expend your energy or the ways in which you get your sensory input could change as you get older to make it more appropriate. So for adults, a child who likes to put everything in their mouth when they're small, as an adult, they might be the person who is always chewing gum or maybe biting on a pen, but that's appropriate. So a lot of the behaviors and a lot of the things that you see now might get easier, yes. It might get easier, but it might not always present in the same way that it's presented now. Somebody is asking if self-harming will always be there. Now, self-harming, again, is a behavior and there's a reason for the behavior. So if the reason for the behavior is addressed, then there's either the self-harming could be, if the self-harming is a sensory kind of thing where you want to get that sensation, there are things that you could do to get some sensation, whether it's whatever sensation you're looking for, you can get it in a more appropriate way. Or if it is that the self-harming is more of a psychological thing, then that would be something that you work on there. Or if it's a behavior, it's something that you work on through therapy to be able to manage it. So it's not that it will always be there, but it's just depending on the why behind it. I do know of something I saw a long time ago where it was a thing where somebody was cutting herself for a long time. And what the professional recommended was that instead of cutting herself on her leg, that she would normally do, it was to draw on her leg. So she would end up doodling on her leg instead of cutting. And that was one thing that helped too. So it is something that changes. But yeah, so as you get older, the needs might change, but in a sense, they might kind of always be there. And what someone's saying here is with self-harming, you could end up looking at medication. That is one option too. But again, it involves the professionals getting involved with that to let you know what the cause is behind it and what is the best way to manage it. Okay. Well, in that case, it would be a matter of changing the behaviors. If it's due to frustration and communication, then that's where the speech therapist will kind of come in to find different ways for her to communicate, so that if she is, upset or frustrated, instead of banging her head, she could do something. There was one child this week, and instead of he was upset about something and was kicking, but instead of kicking, or he wanted to hit something, and instead of hitting, we would high five. Because as I was telling his mom, it's not just a matter of, take a few deep breaths and you feel okay. Sometimes you might need to have that extra stimulation of, a hit or a lash or that extra force, and doing things like high-fiving, which is appropriate, is better. Or for some children, and as they get older, for some, older kids and young adults and adults, things like having a punching bag and all those things actually help more than hurting. I know a lot of people might be like, oh no, don't don't encourage punching bag because you're gonna encourage those kind of behaviors. But a lot of the time, it's not about encouraging behavior, and having the punching bag is not gonna have them go and punch things randomly when they don't feel to punch, but it's having an outlet for that feeling that they're feeling, that if they didn't have the punching bag, they might do it another way. So the behaviors is something that throughout it is worth looking at the behaviors to see how to manage. One of the ways to manage behaviors is from now, try to get an idea of how your child reacts to different stresses. how they react to crowds, how they react to noise, how they react to different people, how they react to sensory things. And then once you kind of build that up from now, as they get older, you'll have an idea of, okay, my child doesn't really like crowds, so I'm not gonna take him or her to the grocery on a Friday at 5 o'clock because that's not gonna work. And in my experience, that's what I've learned too from trial and error, that going to the grocery at certain times doesn't work. So it's best to go at times of the day when other people might be there, like 10 o'clock in the morning, or just times when it might be a little bit quieter. So from now, that's kind of what you can start to build up in your toolbox of how your child responds to different things and what helps them. And then as they get older, you can revisit, because one thing that might work today mightn't work a year from now, but it is something that you have to keep looking at to see what helps them to calm down, what helps with behavior, and what is going to help them as they go along with managing their own behaviors. It could be talking to them about what contributes to a meltdown or what causes a tantrum, and then trying to work backwards for the next time to make sure that you put things in place so those kind of things don't happen. Of course, sometimes you can't a warm bath. Sometimes you can't predict everything. So, sometimes it's really just about, if a meltdown does happen, then you have that plan there to be able to put in place one time. So it really starts from now, and then as you go forward, then you learn. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing all of that with everybody. And again, that kind of, in the chat, if everybody's looking at the chat, it kind of brings to the importance of having your team and the importance of kind of getting everybody involved to make sure that you have the right option for your child. So you have, for something like behaviors like self-harming, there's so many different things that could be the cause, or so many different things contributing. And it really helps to be able to call on different people to figure out what it is and then come to a solution that will help. Because it is very hard if you try to go it on your own and do it all by yourself. Okay. And right, so I went through behaviors and all of that. One of the other things too, with regard to behaviors and just socializing overall, that you could start from now, that we spoke about with Kevin last week, with the person who wanted to have the play date outside, is that integration with neurotypical children, or integration with children who don't have special needs, is very important for both people. Now, I think it's so important for children, all children and all people, to be able to see other people with special needs, or see people who are different from them, because they get to grow up in a way where it becomes normal to see differences. And I think the ones who, when you look at a lot of these siblings of our children with special needs, thankfully, I mean, all of these siblings that you come across are amazing, because they have grown up in this environment where that's what they know. They know that there are people who are different from them. You find that when they go out into the world, they are able to educate other people. They are able to understand other people who have differences. And they're able to treat other people with special needs with a lot of respect, and, help them get to their fullest potential. So it is important to not always have the mindset of, oh, my child is going to have a tantrum, so I'm going to keep them inside all the time. I agree. A lot of the times, I think about it, it's more the job of the neurotypical person to make it their business to learn about special needs. It's not the job of the people with special needs and parents and families to educate other people all the time. You know, it has to be more on the side of the neurotypical people to say, well, oh, okay, I see that you're in a wheelchair. I want to find out more. So let me either go and ask a question or let me go and look it up. But unfortunately, most people don't do that. And of course, as we know here, generally special needs is in a little bubble. But I mean, what I would like to see is a lot more people with special needs in public and in public spaces so that it becomes a normal thing. Just to see somebody in a wheelchair. Oh, well, no. We can't talk about wheelchair, people being out in a wheelchair because where they're going to pass on a pavement. So that's a whole different topic by itself. And I don't want to get, political or go on that side of things because I know that things are not great for people with special needs. I'm trying to keep today a little hopeful so that you could see that even though your child does have a special need, it doesn't mean that it's not a doom and gloom kind of situation. You can get to a point where your child could be happy. On the kind of final thing I want to wrap up with is on the topic of happiness. One of the main things, obviously, is that you want your child to be happy. That's kind of the be all and end all. You want a happy child. So even if your child is not able to engage in sports like other children, or your child is not able to do other things that other children can do, or not able to talk, or whatever the case might be, the main thing is that your child is happy. So if your child is happy being at home, if your child is happy, you want happy and you want function. But you do want to make sure that your child has opportunities available to them, and you want to make sure that your child is happy being themselves as much as possible. I know that there's a particular type of therapy that I was talking to somebody with today that works on managing behaviors, but does it in a way where it's kind of forcing the child to conform to neurotypical standards. And the fact that the child can do something in a neurotypical way, that's the benchmark of success. But the true benchmark of success is not your child being able to fit into a neurotypical society. The benchmark of success is your child being happy, and your child being loved, and your child being accepted by everyone around him or her. So I just kind of want to end with that point that, to me anyway, the true success is when your child knows that he or she is loved and happy and is able to live a life that is fulfilling in whatever way possible. To the person who just asked me that question, you know what? Let's open it up. I'll not make it private because the person is asking me if what are my views on ABA, and ABA is the exact therapy that I was just talking about. I will say that I don't know enough about ABA to not have my mind changed. You know, I don't know enough about it to say that what I think is what I will always think, but it's something that I've heard about like as far back as 18 years ago when I first started studying. And recently in this term, I've been studying it in one of my courses, and my feelings about it then are the same as my feeling now. I do not support it at all, because for me, that's not how I want to work with children to get them to do something. As an occupational therapist, we work with motivation, and we work with we work with occupation. Your occupation is something that's meaningful. So most of the times we want to use things that help the child want to do things in their environment. And to me, ABA, at least from what I've learned the last couple of weeks, it's about helping a child do a certain behavior using cognitive behavioral methods. And the success is based on if you want a child to pick up a red block and put it in a red container, if the child does that, they are then rewarded, and that's a measure of success. And to me, that's not how you measure success, based on if somebody does something or not. It doesn't mean that they understand the meaning behind it, and it doesn't mean that they are happy. So to me, happiness, my success is based on happiness and the child feeling comfortable. And I don't think that ABA or applied behavioral analysis necessarily focuses enough on the other aspects that to me are more important. So I am not saying don't do ABA, that's your business. That's your child, that's your business. I mean, for some people, like I say, I don't know enough about it. I'm still learning about it. We have many ABA therapists here in the country. Obviously, they will say it differently. So it is up to you to do your research and ask your questions. As we've been saying for the last few weeks, ask your questions and, do everything that you have to do to get the answers that you need for yourself. That's my opinion. Person who messaged privately, I'm not studying occupational therapy currently. I am an occupational therapist. I studied in United Kingdom at Brunel University, but I'm doing my master's in special and additional learning needs to work more with the school system. So that's where all this ABA and learning about these specific things comes in. But people who are OT study different places. A lot of it, now we have some homegrown OTs, but a lot of the times before, we would come from the UK, Canada, USA, Australia. Correct. And especially what this parent has said, where, I mean, ABA will work wonders for some people. It might work for some. This goes with every single type of therapy. For every type of therapy you do, for some children it will work fantastic, or adults, and for some it's not going to work. So it's not to say that it isn't going to help your child. It just depends on what your child needs, and that just comes down to asking questions and trying it and seeing how it goes. I totally agree with you, Michelle. That's why I said when Kevin came on that I only send my behavioral children to Kevin, because I know what he does and I know how it works. And for other people, for other behavioral therapists, the only ones that I have met, I think, have been ABA therapists. And I'm not going to willingly recommend a parent to go to ABA. If they want to go, I will just give my opinion and leave it alone. But I'm not going to say, actually no, I'm lying, because I do tell some parents don't go. But check it out for yourself. But that's just my opinion, that I'm not in agreement with how they do, with why they do what they do. So again, the person who's asking about ABA, it is really something to, if you want to find out more about it, you can ask your person or ask your therapist. And it really goes back to being able to, this is somebody that you're going to work with for a while, because no therapy really, but most therapy is not just, we just do one session and boom, your child is great. It is an ongoing process, and especially with something with ABA, it's very intensive and very involved. So it's a process that you do want to make sure you're comfortable with the person and you're comfortable with what they're going to do. So once you ask your questions and you feel like you're good to go, then, you know, try it and see how it works, because you never know if it's going to help your child. Thank you very much. I will send out an email after this to find out, because I have some ideas for some more things going forward, but I want to get your input to find out what it is you would like to focus on. Because I do the same thing like the swimming and all of that. I would like to highlight those different therapies, keep highlighting different therapies and different people, so that parents could know what's available to us, what's available to everybody. So that is an idea going forward, but I'll still send out an email to find out how you would like it going forward. Yes, it is quite intensive. Anyway, do your research, like with anybody, not just ABA, but all of the therapies. Do your research, ask your questions, make sure you get a feel for the person that you're going to be working with. And, you know, as your parents, like I keep saying, you are the ones in charge. So if it's not something that you feel comfortable doing, then, you know, you could say so or do what you need to do. That point is true, that somebody saying with therapy is an ongoing process and change in approaches helps to stimulate change. I do agree with that. There have been times when even with therapists, you feel like your child needs a different therapist, because one person would work with the person differently. So for sometimes it mightn't work to keep doing the same thing over and over, or you have a relationship with that child and the child is with you one way, but sometimes it helps when they learn from somebody else. And even across therapies, I will admit, there was one parent that I recommended to do ABA just because they wanted to do something different. And that's when I said, I did tell them and I didn't agree with it, but I told them they could check it out because they just wanted a change. And I agree with that sometimes it helps to try something different. But again, as you know, whatever is going to work for your child, that's what you could aim towards. And who vex loss? If the therapists are unhappy about that, that's our business. It's your child. Okay, so thank you everybody for coming for the past 6 weeks. Like I say, by sometime this weekend, probably Sunday, late, they will be all online and I'll share it on social media and all of that, so you can always go back to it and see. But I would like to continue these talks because like I say, I keep learning a lot. But again, it mightn't be in the same format where everybody will come on a Friday, every Friday kind of thing, because I know you will have lives and things to do. But when I send out the email, I'll ask and see what you would prefer. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming. This was a very big thing for me to do, with talking to people. So thank you all for being so accommodating and being here every week and asking your questions and sharing your information. And keep looking back at everything. Again, if you have questions about anything at all, feel free to message and we will get your questions to whoever needs to get those answers to you. Thank you, everybody. See you all again, hopefully in a few weeks for the next set of talks that we're gonna do. All right, bye.